Is it me, or is it burning up in here? Who turned up the heat? Laugh, cry, sweat dry, shifting every gear. Oh,
All right. So, welcome to the Hot
Here
Flash
we are.
Pod. This is the unfiltered space for women navigating the heat of midlife. We're here to laugh, commiserate, and keep it real about the sandwich generation, perimenopause, and everything in between. We blend personal storytelling with humor to tackle the chaos of raising teens, caring for aging parents, and figuring out why we walked into the kitchen. No homework, no perfection, just real talk from three friends, literally figuring it out together. This is the third time we're filming this today. So, we're going to hope that we can zhuzh it and make sure that everyone is
Third
entertained.
time's a charm.
Third time's
Somebody
the
used
charm.
the word zhuzh. I love zhuzh. I use
I love
zhuzh all
the
the time,
zhuzh.
and everybody, I get asked to define it. You want to talk about feeling old?
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Oh,
Google that. But you know
zhuzh.
what? You can't even
Everybody.
say GTS anymore. It's not Google that shit. It's now like
Oh,
LLM that shit. That's a
yeah,
lot of letters.
yeah,
That is a lot of letters. A lot of
it
letters.
is.
Quite
But
a lot.
Lisa, I think you had jump started us on a really great conversation that I want to circle back to, which is
Go for it.
maybe you could rephrase it for me. But I know you were talking about the heaviness of the world or the heaviness of our lives and
Oh, sure.
the
Sure.
feeling, right?
Yeah. So I think it's, the political landscape, what's happening in the world around us, everything is very heavy right now. And, throw that in with just trying to care for your children, your parents, yourself, and those people around you. It just gets to be a lot. It's a heavy load to lift. And, I think there's ways to get through that, whether it's exercise,
Yeah.
wine with your friends, watching your favorite TV show. I mean, I just posted a funny meme on Instagram the other day, and I was like, the world is burning down around me, and I'm like, have you watched Teen Rivalry? Like
That's
that's
not me. My
You got it
friend.
in.
She was like, I'm watching Bridgerton today. I was like, okay, girl.
Oh,
You just moved
I
on
mean,
to the
that's
other
just as good. That's just as good. But like, finding those things that, can get you through and distract you. I think that's the key part, distract you from what's falling down around you is really important. But it gets to be a lot. And then you throw in hormonal imbalance
Mhm.
and it's a lot. Like it's a lot to carry, it's a lot to push through, and finding moments where you can be transparent and genuine and just let it all out. I had one of those moments right before we started recording, listeners. Like I have you been there where you're getting ready to do something really important and you're like, I can't. Like I
Yeah.
just can't today. I just can't. Like, and I think that's okay too to say that.
That resonates with me about finding balance. I would say before Michael's death, I was very
Mm.
much people pleaser. Like I'm trying. I vacillated between I want to be the person who is giving out to the world in the same way that I feel the world gave back into me, but that because I have, the psychology of how I grew up and the things I was taught, it led into a lot of people pleasing. But then when Michael passed, I was like, I don't give anything about anyone. And so I went the exact opposite. And I am now getting back into a place where I feel that pull to give outwardly again. And but I'm very cautious. I'm like, well, I just need to set boundaries and I need to make sure that I'm balancing between
Mhm.
taking care of me and I'm not caring about all of the distractions, but also making sure that that I'm being true to myself and giving back. So yeah.
So that brings
Yeah.
me a question I want to ask the two of you, which is like when I don't I think with or without children, I know that we talk about families, and I think you could have a plus 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 in terms of whatever dynamic, whether it's like having a parent who lives with you or dealing with the loss or a new relationship or a new job, you name it. I always feel like we need to give pause to the cuckoo clock. I just want to say that.
Go
But
ahead and get with
it'll
yours.
become our thing. Right. But like when? Like so I feel overwhelmed with the when, right? So even when we have this, I'll tell you, Lisa, so we're gonna like put it all out there, right? So
Mhm.
you were worried about our, work that we were doing in preparation right here as we're trying to like get to our most
Mhm.
authentic kind of experience for our listeners. And then mine was like, oh my gosh, when are we gonna do this again? Because I feel this
Mm.
overwhelming. I don't know when to get the things that I want to do in, like,
Yes.
for me,
Mhm.
right? Because you've talked about that. Like, when would we make time, with all of those demands? When do you make time? Like, do you just, is it like your care is
Well, right, for a hobby or for a guilty pleasure or, whatever it is, right? That's, bringing you joy or distraction or, you barely have time to do the things you have to do. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I put in at the beginning of the year, I'm like, okay, what is going to be my focus for the next, 30, 60, 90 days in
Mm.
all of the aspects of my life, in my health, in my family, in my career, in da, da, da. Because I can't do well in all of those areas. I can only focus on maybe two or three things, right? And one of them was, my relationship with my mom. My mom lives in Puerto Rico. I live in Florida. And so there's a lot of distance between us physically and also emotionally.
Mm,
But she's going through a really tough time right now where her husband has dementia, and he's
Mm.
in the late stages of that. And so almost every day, I see her post something on Facebook where she's kind of talking about it or advocating for it or sharing. Like, so she's really using the internet to find community because right now she lives in a condo that's maybe on the bottom floor, 900 square feet, and she lives
Oof.
there each day with my stepdad, and
Taking care of him.
he just follows her around because he's
Mm.
got the dementia. And I'm just sitting here in my head going, oh my gosh, I wish that I had the heart space, the time space, the whatever space to be able to
mm,
be in her life, but I am
Mhm.
literally holding my shit together with like
Mhm.
uh dental floss. Like it is so I have this big, guilt that I'm really trying to not embrace because I know that each person is living their own life and has their own things, and there are ways that she can reach out and find community. And it doesn't have to be me that is the sole carrier of her well-being, but there is that pressure. And so I'm just curious how it shows up in y'all's life,
uh,
having both parents and children, because it's a hard thing to do.
I have a question before we go into that, though. I need to contextualize this a little bit. Are you an only child?
No, I have a younger sister, but my younger sister has 3 children all under the age of 5.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, so she's busy.
Yeah.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
it matters to the conversation because 'cause we've had this conversation, Lisa,
Mhm.
Sure, like who
right?
who needs to put in the reps, right? Well, and then I know I'm clogging the conversation, but then I get a call from my dad, and he's like telling me about how much it costs to take care of his medication and for his arthritis, and that his troubles with doctors and advocating for
Mm.
himself. But he lives in Texas.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
number one, physically and literally, again, I can't be there, but I can listen. But when I listen, I have to, guard my heart and be like, okay, well,
Mhm.
which is my part and which is not my part.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
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 I
Yeah.
I'm definitely living it. I mean, I as you know, I have, give my context a little bit here. I have my mother lives with us, and, both of my husband's parents are gone. So this is, and my father passed away when I was young. So this is our sole parent in our life, and, kind of a flip. We have she's operationalized. I mean, it's just kind of her personality, based on her previous profession, and she kind of has everything in order. It's not like I have to do a lot of thinking about care or medical care. I think it's more of being a connection or her community because she has mobility issues, which means that she doesn't get out as much. She has friends and has things she does, but she can't do as much as she'd like. So then we're kind of that support system, which we're happy to be for her, but it just is, it's another part of a formula. And there is this part of, that feeds into that, what we were talking about, which is what time is for me. And I think that there's kind of a
Mhm.
generational default of like, well, you're a mom, you don't get any time. And like,
Mhm.
what do you mean you don't get time? You go on these trips all the time. So if you're going and doing these trips, and I have to say, like, the trips that I find, and everybody's different. I'm sure even in this group, I sometimes enjoy my solo trips because it means I
Mm.
have my own bed and I'm only caring for me, one meal to
Mhm.
figure out. And
Mhm.
I'm living that moment for 2 or 3 days where it's just about me, but then I'm also in the stage of, well, then I miss everybody, I wanna go back to them,
Yep.
right? And so I had this conflicting feeling of I don't know how to sometimes don't know how to balance, but I don't wanna take up either, and I know Lisa,
I
you've been
also think there's another thread to it where that is very unique to the people who are currently 40, 50, 60, in that the expectation is that you do it. You're
yeah,
either doing it because you're the mom or you're doing it because I brought you into this world and now it's your
Well,
turn to take care of me.
that's what I was just gonna touch
Oh, s-
on. Yeah, no, that's okay. No, 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 no. It just shows that we're all in
oh,
alignment.
no.
I'm an only child and my husband is an only child, and we have 4 living parents, that are, they're a lot. They've got a lot of physical and emotional stuff going on. I could go on for days about that, but we'll save that for another episode.
right.
Um, and similar to you, Melissa, my husband's parents live away from us. They're in another part of the country. And, we've encouraged them, to come live closer to us because it would be helpful, right? We could be more helpful if you would live closer to us. And, they just refuse. They're very stubborn. And, we're waiting for that moment where, we get the phone call that one of us has to go out there because something's happened. And at that point, I mean, I look at it as almost selfish behavior from them, like, y-
You get to crisis.
right. Something's going to happen at some point, and my husband or I are going to have to take a leave of absence from our jobs and our family and go out to deal with it. And it's already happened a couple of times on small scale, but it's challenging because, again, we love them and we want to help, but you're not letting us help you. It's like Jerry Maguire, help me, help you. And my parents are in a similar situation. They're a little better, but they're close, and, my dad tries to just take care of everything himself, and, I've defined some pretty clear boundaries with them, which is good, but it also is tricky, because how much, time and effort, you know, do they want from us? Do they expect from us as the children because they've given us life and they've taken care of us? And but in another way, I've clearly communicated, like, this is what I can do. This is where I am before it becomes too much for me in that
Yeah,
regard. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Mhm.
completely. It's interesting. I've had so many different conversations with friends as we've talked about people who are volunteering to be guests because they want to tell their stories because we all have stories of, I think it is difficult to each generation to change
Hmm.
and then to kind of feel like, did your generation matter or are your experience is important? So I think that there's hard part for me is I don't want to disregard anybody's experiences before, but there's
Mhm.
this friction point a lot of times in conversations that I hear that's about um, nothing is different about your generation from the generation before. And I struggle because sometimes I see it in my kid. So when we're talking about like looking in both directions, I see this viewpoint of she thinks she's having this original experience. And I'm like, we went through that too, right? Like not different. But then there are things that are so different for her, right?
Mhm.
You can get into technology or whatever else is,
Mhm.
dynamically different. But certainly there's differences between generations in terms of how we experience, even from having public conversations about perimenopause.
Mm.
That alone is a huge
Is different.
difference in discovery that we didn't
Mhm.
have before. So, I think sometimes the rift is, that our experience is either the same or different. Why should it be the same? Maybe there's some envy. I think there's probably some envy on my part when I look at my daughter's experiences that I wish, period culture, right,
Mm.
is a
Very
major
Oh,
different.
that I
Mhm.
wish had been around when we were that
Yep.
age.
did y'all have the thing where they would separate you? They would take in, this was, I can remember this in
Oh,
elementary school where they, took all the boys over to here and they took all the girls over to
yep.
here. The boys were having a conversation about who knows what. It was very innocuous, probably
Mhm.
about wearing deodorant. And then for girls, it was, hey, your body's about to bleed. And here are some pads that are, the size of my,
Uh,
and
Fast
then,
forward, do you know what they do now? They
Oh,
don't do that anymore, at least depending on where you are, what school.
Yeah,
They
what
generally
school?
automatically keep you together. And her experience in school, if you can believe it, she had a friend, male friend, say, "Oh, we had to watch a C-section." And yes, it was part of the psychology and medical course. And I
Mm,
was like, "This is amazing." And he was complaining, and she was like, she checked him and said, "Where do you think babies come from? Get over it." I was like,
yeah,
"Good for you."
yeah,
Like, you need to know biologically, everybody,
yep,
what's happening. This stuff is biological. It's
if
not
you
just
know how
yes,
it happens, maybe you can prevent something that you don't want.
uh-huh,
yeah.
yep,
But in truth be
yeah,
told, I think we're trying to navigate as we have this as our experience and a lot of other things. We're trying to figure out where we can have those conversations, where we can connect. How do we, I don't
and
know, learn from
relate,
each other?
connect and relate to
Yeah,
each other.
yeah.
Yeah.
And validate each other's experiences too. I mean, there's a part of that for sure for
I
me.
can still remember that time where I was looking back going, "Oh my god." I can remember thinking that this was such a unique experience to me and that nobody else in the world had ever
Mm,
felt this. And then just feeling so lame. And so it really makes me look, forward to when I'm my mom's age and how not necessarily her, but just kind of as a monolith, the inflexibility. And it's not wanting to be stubborn, it's more just I'm tired and, wanting to change anymore is just not in my wheelhouse at this point. And so am I
mm.
going but what I want from her from this seat is that, you need to learn and you need to change and you need to grow. But when I get to be her age, am I going to be looking back going, "Wow, I was so insensitive." Or not, or are we, moving, like you say, is each generation changing and modifying the script?
I was just listening to, an interview with Michelle Obama a couple of
Oh,
weeks
love
ago.
her.
I
Yes.
know. Everybody does. She's amazing. But she was talking about how, her kind of advice, right, to her daughters right now is to invest in female friendships.
Mm,
And because at some point, like the other friendships, the other things, your kids are going to be gone, right? Like they're going to have their own lives and they're not going to rely on you as much. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately, but also thinking about the time that it takes and the
mm,
work that it takes to maintain friendships. As much as you want to, you've got to stay on top of it. Like, and that's why I value the friendships where I might not talk to somebody for 3 months, but then I pick up the phone and call them and it's like just yesterday, like that bring that sense of ease and just comfort. And, there's no hard feelings because you were the last one to call and you called me first and then you never returned to my call. And we've been playing phone tag and it's like, I don't know.
That's the beauty of getting older though, right?
Hmm.
I think when we talk about this experience that, not everything is, bad or negative, but there's some positives in terms of self-discovery or
Hmm.
that freedom to feel like I need to talk about this. I need to have a
Yeah.
conversation. And then friends that allow you to be that
Hmm.
way, to be authentic and to be honest. Like I said, I am always fascinated with the number of women that I meet who are super energized and lean in
Yes.
on this conversation. Like, let me tell you. And then it's rebuilding friendships for that reason, right? Like you
sure.
Hmm.
have that new thread of commonality. And not
Hmm.
just like, hey, by the way, I'm going through menopause, let's be friends. But
Right. Right.
I
Right.
don't think I'm
Right.
that forward. But I do appreciate, as we kind of keep talking about community and what that looks like. And then thinking even fast forward, my I think fast forward, I'm thinking about my daughter's future and what it would look
Good job.
like in terms of fast forward, what she's going to experience in her
Yeah.
generation.
With her friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yep.
think that
Have,
we've been taught to be quiet and to suffer in silence
yes.
and to stiff up our lip, pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Hmm.
Everybody has problems, but and so you don't share. And then when you do share, it's like, oh my God, is she like, why is she?
Yeah.
So
What's
there's
wrong with her? Yeah.
silence and so making our voices heard, I think is very important. Yeah.
Well,
Have
yeah.
either of you ladies watched the movie Wine Trip on Netflix with Tina Fey?
Oh,
And
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember watching that, and it came out, I want to say in like 2019, and watching it and thinking it was funny. And I just happened to rewatch it a couple of weeks ago, and it related to me on such a different level the second time around, 5 or 6 years later. And it was so good. I cried. I laughed. I mean, it was just so good. And I'm hearing things in this conversation that are reminding me about that movie, right? Like friendships and hiding things from each other, and then when you're finally honest, and it just kind of all comes out, and how having that kind of authenticity and transparency, I don't know, I think we're better for it, and just
Well,
sharing with each other better.
I tell my daughter all the time that being human is difficult. And it's gonna be funny as we kind of like continue to do this and learn from each other that
I am curious that in your conversations with other people, I know we're having conversations about perimenopause with people. Are you having conversations about taking care of aging parents and with your,
No, yeah.
and what's the advice or the consensus that we could share with our listeners that has really been helpful for you, if anything, really?
that's been helpful in terms of advice. I'm gonna go with number one, which is to be kind to myself. Um, I I I think sometimes my expectations as somebody who wants to do well at things that somehow this is something that I can control or something that I can figure out, and it's really experiential. Like you just have to go through it to, and there are obviously interventions or other outside external things to help me along the way. But I think forgiveness to myself is a big one that I've heard that I really appreciate.
Mhm. I think focusing on the things you can control, because you can't control others. Your whether it's your parents or your children or your friends, I mean anybody, or your spouse, you can't control them, and kind of letting that go.
I feel bad. So can I tell you a story about what, like, not controlling your husband's? I think it just as an opportunity in a moment is that right now, my device power is, and I tried to quietly see if I could get power for my device because you're supposed to come prepared, right? And then he's just maneuvering in this environment right now in a way that just is being exacerbated by my annoyance of his like, why are you in this room? I just want to put that out
And I
there.
didn't even notice.
Right?
No, not at all. You got a good poker face.
I did
Good
it. I
job.
did as best I can. So,
Good
yeah, you
job.
can't
Good job.
control all the annoyances that happen in your life,
Love it.
but
Well,
I'm
thank you,
grateful.
everybody,
Yeah.
for listening to the Hot Flash Pod. Hopefully, you laughed a little, cried a little, and felt seen today. And if you did, make sure you share this with a friend who needs it. So until next time, stay cool.
Is it me, or is it burning up in here? Who turned up the heat? Laugh, cry, sweat dry, shifting every gear. Oh, the drama. Three friends riding out this wild left turn. Got a story for every sudden burn. Welcome to the Hot Flash Pod. We're laughing while our bodies play hard. Pull up a chair, you're one of us. Talking through the chaos, calling out the fuss. We'll turn this roller coaster into a nod to every blazing hazy. Is it just me? Day Hot Flash Pod. We're gonna laugh it away. Brain fog, mood jog. What was I just saying? Jeans tight, sleep light, heart still staying. We spill the tea on every twist and turn. If you're sweating in the cereal aisle, it's your turn. Welcome to the Hot Flash Pod. We're laughing while our bodies play hard. Pull up a chair, you're one of us. Talking through the chaos, calling out the fuss. Hot Flash Pod. We'll turn this roller coaster into a nod to every blazing hazy. Is it just me? Day Hot Flash Pod. We're gonna laugh